The shorthanded Washington Wizards were without Alex Sarr, without Marvin Bagley. They were destroyed in all facets of the game. 140 to 110. Raptors win it over the Wizards. I don't know if this losing streak's ever going to end at this point. Let's do it.
You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
DC family, you're locked on to the Washington Wizards, where you're part of our family. We thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team, the Washington Wizards, every day. The #1 sports podcast network in the nation, alongside the DC sports content creating savant Abdullah Ayubi. I'm Ben Strober, and I cover DC sports for 106.7 The Fan and the Team 980. 140 to 110. Raptors win it. The Wizards drop their 13th game in a row. They're now 0-10 in NBA Cup games. AB, another ugly, ugly game, albeit shorthanded, but another 30-point blowout.
Yeah, wasn't our night in the six. Again, no Alex Sarr. That really hurt, Ben. But when I found out no Marvin Bagley, TV got a sixth career start, I was excited about that, but I think he ultimately ended up with 4 points, 3 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal. So I'm starting to think every game when I see the guy get minutes is that he's just not ready. But again, you want to give him ample minutes out there if possible. Will Riley, we'll talk about that, Ben. He got in the game late in the game. I still think he deserves a fair shot at playing point guard, Ben, because at this point, what do you have to lose? But for the Raptors, we talked about it, 48 points in the third quarter, Ben, and ended up with 140. And this Wizards team on average gives up 130 points a game. You just can't win games like that, plain and simple.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to get into Will Riley, as you mentioned, later in the episode. We're going to give you a chance, as always, at the end to let it all out like we always do after every single Wizards game here on the program. Talk about Dre Johnson. He flashed at the end of the first half early on into the third quarter, but didn't see a whole lot after that. And the Wizards' point guard problem continues to loom very large. All right, let's just start with some of the basic things in the game breakdown. The first 24 minutes I watched, they go down by 10 at half, 57-47. I go, okay, all things considered, you're down Sarr and Bagley, Vucevic not having a very good first half at all. In fact, it was so bad that they didn't put him out there to start in the second half. I'm like, being down by 10 at this point really is not that bad. I'll take it right now. Like, they're not playing that bad. They're actually communicating pretty decently defensively. They're rotating well. They're playing hard. Their shot just wasn't falling. They were abysmal. They shot 1 for 10 from 3 in that first quarter. I think they ended up finishing 5 for 22 from 3 in the first half, and 3 of those came from Dre Johnson. They were 2 for 19 from 3 until he started to get going. So put that in perspective, how poorly the Wizards shot the basketball in the first half, and really throughout the entirety of this game. They shot 12 of 41 from behind the arc. So they were getting good looks. They were just missing them. It was one of those nights offensively for the Wizards. On the opposite end, 14 of 29, 48.5%. Toronto, very efficient from the three-point clip. And obviously this game really gets away in that third quarter. The Wizards allow 48 points. They allow 83 points in the second half. That's the third time this season the Wizards have allowed over 80 points in a half of a game. So defense was abysmal in that second half. The fourth quarter, Keefe pretty much benched everybody for the end of the bench for the final 8 minutes or so of the game. He was extremely frustrated with the effort, with the rotations that came place. And, yeah, it was good to see some of those young guys go at it. But also, being down Alex Sarr in this game, being down Marvin Bagley in this game, just a disaster on the boards for this Wizards team. 48 rebounds for Toronto, just 29 for the Wizards. Plenty of second chance opportunities. The Raptors were dominating on the offensive glass. The Wizards really never had a chance in this one, despite competing pretty decently throughout the first half. AB, what else did you notice?
I saw that they did a decent job. I know Brandon Ingram ended up with 24 points, 8 rebounds, 6 assists. But Drew Gooden talked about how Brandon Ingram loves pump faking. So there were times where Bilal Coulibaly defensively was giving him a hard time. And that's what I wanted to see, where Bilal, on a night where he only scores 9 points, had a nice dunk to start the game. But defensively, that's where he loves to shine. There were times where I was like, okay, that's good defense. But just overall, Ben, like, we can have some nice defensive flashes in a game, but giving up 140 points, I mean, their guy, the center, Mamu, 23.7 rebounds. It was at one point when Justin Champagnie he didn't know what to do. He was shrugging his shoulders to the Wizards bench. It's like, what can we do? It's a small ball lineup. But if we're playing a small ball lineup, I understand it's a disadvantage for us, but it should give us an advantage offensively. And again, Ben, the stagnant offense it's killing us. There's no movements. I love Trey Johnson in transition, Ben. I mean, there is no guy in transition that I love more than Trey Johnson because he's always finding a way to shoot that 3-point shot, and he makes it. I think he ended up with 14 tonight, and we'll talk about that later in the stream. But again, man, this is a Raptors team, which I get they're playing good basketball. You lose another NBA Cup game, but the competitiveness, and I understand you don't have Alex Sarr tonight, Ben, and let's be real, if Alex Sarr plays, maybe you lose by 20 points instead of 30, but it's just like, it really is frustrating, that lack of offensive movement, like taking contested shots when the shot clock's running out, the lack of having a point guard. It's a common theme that we're seeing throughout all these losses, 13 losses in a row, Ben, and we're going to be 3 away from tying for the franchise record, if I'm not mistaken. It's just, it's frustrating right now. I see on Wizards Twitter, I saw LaMelo Ball supposedly requested a trade. Some fans don't even want that because the dysfunction that's happening right now with this team. But again, you just got to keep on pushing it. And CJ McCollum tonight, 20 points, Ben. Chris Middleton. I mean, every game, some people are always going to complain about those two guys on the team. I thought they did a decent job, but there's always going to be the argument that I'd rather have the young guys take those shots than the two vets on this team.
Yeah, and honestly, I'd be probably a proponent of that argument, AB, and not to say like CJ and Chris have been really bad. Maybe outside of a couple performances where those guys had really rough shooting nights, they've been fine. Like, they've played okay. They don't really bring you a lot defensively. Maybe Middleton a little bit, CJ not as much. But at this point, you're trying to develop these young players. These guys aren't even really helping you compete anyway. I just don't really see it. First of all, you're trying to keep these guys healthy if you want to move them at some point. NBA executives around the league know what Chris Middleton and CJ McCollum are capable of. The Wizards don't need to play them 30 minutes a night and have them shooting 15 shots a game for that to be the possibility of moving those guys. That doesn't need to be the case. I don't know if they're trying to like prove that they can play significant minutes if somebody gets hurt on another team that's trying to contend, that you pick one of those guys up. But I don't really think the Wizards need to play those guys as many minutes. And at times, I just really am puzzled by some of the selection from the shots you see from those guys. Like, one time they called a timeout in the second quarter. The first play out of the timeout is a play drawn up where CJ McCollum shoots a contested three. And I'm just like, what are we doing here? I don't understand it. And tonight was a rough night for the Keyshawn George kind of being the de facto point guard experiment. He turned the ball over 5 times. The 5th turnover came the first possession of the second half, and you didn't see as many on-ball opportunities for him the rest of the game, essentially, because he was really struggling with the basketball in his hands. And you're going to have ebbs and flows for a guy like that who's not playing in his natural position. This team simply does not have a point guard right now. CJ McCollum is not a reliable option to do it. Trey Johnson's not a guy that you want to have out there doing that as well. Bub Carrington hasn't been able to do it. And Keyshawn George has been your best option. He's been good on select nights for it. But, for him to ask for him to put up that kind of effort every single night, play out of position, and be the primary ball handler when now the scouting report is dictated to throw double teams his way and take away everything else, it makes it really difficult in a player like Keyshawn George. And I think in a way it holds him back from the offensive output you could have. This guy's having a really, really good year shooting the ball from behind the arc, but he's not getting that many opportunities to shoot the 3 ball right now because he has the ball in his hands so much. It's a really dire, straight situation, to be honest.
And honestly, Ben, I think this is, I think it's a little too of an overreaction to put so much, criticizing Keyshawn George tonight, just because again you're putting so much on his plate. Defensively, he has to play really good. We expect that from him. 3-point shooting wise, he's a good 3-point shooter, but also playing point guard. It's just a lot of things for a young guy to handle, especially in his second year. I'm not saying he doesn't have the capability of it, but in his second year doing all these tasks at once, it's too much in my opinion. And at the deadline, will there be any moves? Will they eventually try to put Will Riley in the point guard position and see how that experiment goes? We saw in the preseason against the Knicks, he showed some flashes. I just think you don't want to put too much of a workload on Keyshawn, even though he might be capable of it, but maybe that's something that will hopefully see in the second half of the season. Right now, you got to get someone that can run this offense. You need a point guard, and someone has to step up. I don't know who will it be. I don't even know if maybe he's on the team next year in this upcoming draft class, maybe in free agency. But again, the lack of a point guard, Ben, it's very apparent every single loss that we've had so far in DC.
Yeah, and we'll probably do a separate video on this, honestly. At some point, maybe we'll do it early on next week on a non-game day. But I think this season has proven that the biggest need for this team is a point guard. And I know there's been so much hubbub made about the organization needing to find another big to play alongside Alex Sarr, and I agree. That's another thing that's going to have to be a priority at some point this offseason or at some point within this rebound. But I think the point guard situation is literally dire straits right now. It's honestly hurtful for the development, the way they have the offense flowing right now without a true true point guard on this offense right now. And, I feel for a lot of these guys that are playing out there in this situation where they cannot get into a groove. They can't get any rhythm offensively just because you don't have somebody that's super experienced to run the point guard position. And George, a guy that had experience doing it in college, but the NBA is a whole different beast. Like, this is not just like a situation where you can throw him out there every night and expect him to be great every night. And as you said, like, he may be capable of it, and some nights he has been very capable of it, but he's not going to be capable of it every single night. I think there's better ways Keyshawn George can become that all-star type player for this team. He can be like kind of a second option as a point forward because he's a good playmaker, but to have him be your primary ball handler night in, night out, I just don't know how sustainable that is over the course of a season. Tonight was an off night for him for sure. Like, he could totally bounce back tomorrow in Chicago, and maybe we eat a little bit of crow from this conversation, but the need for a point guard is becoming massive, and it continues to grow every single game here as we roll along.
And I want to see how this team responds in Chicago tomorrow, Ben. You lose by 30 points internationally, technically. You're going to Chicago. Can you put up a fight? That Bulls team, there's a lot of good young guys on that roster. But again, especially if there's no Alex Sarr or Marvin Bagley, Tristan Vucevic probably going to get another start. Can you go out there and bounce back from this performance? Because again, going into the season, Ben, I'm going to keep saying it was all about being competitive, playing defense. We're dead last in a lot of those defensive categories. At some point, it's a lip service, but I understand the mission of this season. It's just, it is frustrating because fans just want to see competitive nature basketball, and that's just not what we've been seeing so far.
Yeah, I just want to see him compete, whether that's only losing by 10 or whatever, but I need to see the development. I feel like tonight was a night where I didn't get a lot out of this. Trey Johnson, maybe the lone flash, and we're going to talk about that next here in a second, but just overall, like, relatively speaking, tonight, not a overly positive night. And yes, they're very shorthanded. Like, I'll give them I'll give them the benefit of the doubt with that when you're missing your two options at center. But that's what happens when your only options at center for the season are Alex Sarr and Marvin Bagley. It's obviously part of the mission. This team's goal was to lose plenty of games, but it's tough to see it happen this way. All right, let's talk a little bit of Trey Johnson when we come back. Let's talk about something every business owner knows too well, and it's not just that the Wizards are going to lose plenty of games this year, part of the tank. It's missed calls when a customer tries to reach you and can't get through. That's money slipping away. Quo, spelled Quo, is the smarter way to run your business communications so you never miss an opportunity. Quo is the #1 business phone system built for 2025, not 1995. It's simple, modern, and designed to help you communicate faster, look more professional, and stay connected wherever you're working. I love that Quo works right from an app on your phone or computer. No extra devices, no clunky landlines. Your whole team can share one number and collaborate on calls and texts like a shared inbox, which means customers can get help faster. The built-in AI is a game changer. It logs your calls, writes summaries, and even sets up follow-ups automatically. Try Quo free at quo.com/LockedOnNBA. That's QUO.com/LockedOnNBA. And yes, you can keep your existing number. Quo, no missed calls, no missed customers. The NBA season is heating up, and DoorDash has found the perfect way to keep fans in their bag all season long. Whether you're watching for the highlights, your fantasy team, or your favorite player, DoorDash makes every game night even better. DoorDash is the official on-demand delivery platform of the NBA, and they're celebrating with something called the Bag Drop. Every time an NBA player scores 50 points in a game, DoorDash drops 50% off your order. With Dash Pass the next day, you're automatically entered for a chance to win the Ultimate Fan Bag. We're talking player-inspired drip, exclusive gear, and stuff you'll actually want. I love that it's not just food, and you get everything from snacks, drinks, headphones, ice, even socks, all of it delivered. DoorDash has you covered for the late night highlights, last minute watch parties, and double OT fuel ups. So next time someone goes off for 50, use promo code NBA50 the next day to get 50% off on DoorDash with Dash Pass. Plus, your shot at the bag drop. Dash Pass members only 50% off up to $10 the day after a 50-point game with promo code. Terms apply. No purchase necessary. Ends April 13th. Open to U.S. residents 21 or older. Visit DoorDashInYourBag.com for full details. DoorDash in your bag all season long. Trey Johnson absolutely flashed for me toward the end of that first half. I was excited to see it. Would have liked to see a little bit more. Let me pull up the box score here to get the total minutes.
I still think 19 minutes is too short, Ben. It's too little.
I'd agree with you. 19 minutes, 5 of 8 from the field, 3 of 5 from downtown for Trey Johnson. When he gets in rhythm, this dude can knock it down with ease. And one thing I want to see from him a little bit, I feel like on some of these possessions where you see him pass off to whether it's McCollum or somebody else, I'd like to see him with a little more activity off the ball trying to get open or something like that. But in a lot of these situations where the offense hasn't really been set up to create for him, I think he's done a pretty good job trying to get his own shot however he can. And transition has been a place where it's been money for Trey Johnson. I want him to continue to let it fly whenever he has those open looks. And this team needs to unleash him. They need to give him the opportunities to get in rhythm on any given night. 19 minutes on a night where he got really hot and was maybe playing the best basketball on your team. He led this team in scoring with 12 in the first half, and you didn't see a ton of him in the second half. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Like, our goal is to develop these guys. You want to see your number 6 overall pick go out there and feast every single night. Yet we defer to CJ McCollum far too often.
Yeah, I don't get it. And I understand that you want to maximize the trade value of CJ, but I think it's more of a need to develop your young guys. And you spent the 6th overall pick on this kid, a kid who can be a cornerstone piece of this franchise. And 19 minutes, I think it's unexcusable. There's no at least 25 minutes a game for the young guy. I need to see more sets, Ben. The stagnant offense, I feel like if you find a way for down screens for Trey, that will solve that. I mean, again, he's very good in transition, but when this team plays half-court offense, it seems like he's just not on the floor. He had this one nice layup where he was going to the right and finished with his left hand. I've seen that happen multiple times this season. I love that he's getting good at finishes and being able to shoot it from the outside. Again, you just need more reps, Ben. You got to force-feed him the ball. And the more we see of him doing that, the more likely he'll. And at this point, Ben, I'm not saying it's too soon to write him off for Rookie of the Year. A lot of young guys are balling out right now. But at this point, I don't even care about him being Rookie of the Year. I just want him to be a really good piece for his franchise. And playing him 19 minutes, that's not the recipe for that.
Yeah, I never was like that. I mean, I thought he had a realistic chance to win Rookie of the Year. That was my prediction at the start of the year, so I'm not going to come back on that one or anything, but I didn't really think offensively they would struggle as much to set guys up. I didn't really know that this glaring point guard hole would loom its head as large as it did. 17 turnovers tonight for Washington. They averaged just under 17 at 16.9 per game. That's second worst, tied with Golden State. Right now, Dallas at 17.1. So Washington, Dallas, very similar situation. Those teams both do not have a point guard right now, and the amount of turnovers per game will reflect that being a major problem for them offensively. Tonight was a night where they got relatively open looks, actually. In the first half, they just were not knocking down anything. It was a rough shooting night, and you're going to have nights like that in the NBA. I don't expect them to be great offensively on any given night. Like, this is a young team. They're going to struggle at times, whether it's being assertive or they're just going to struggle to knock it down, even in situations where they're open. But the amount of turnovers that we see, from everybody included, and it's hurtful for a guy like Trey Johnson because you want to see him operate really well without the basketball in his hands. And, it's kind of like Alex Sarr last year, the way Danny Rugiet said it on our podcast a week ago. He said, Sarr last year, they put him out there and said, let's see what you can do. Let's see what works. Let's see what doesn't. And Trey Johnson's kind of in the same exact situation. Maybe it'll ramp up in the second half of the season when CJ and Chris hopefully are not here anymore. Then you get Trey Johnson playing the bulk of the minutes, and maybe they start to dictate the offense a little bit more centered around him so that they can get him more open looks. But right now, day in, day out, it's been frustrating.
Yeah, and like you mentioned, I hope you see that in the second half of the season because we saw the young guys play a lot better in the second half of last season. But again, man, I don't want Trey Johnson to be held back. I think the sky's the limit for this kid. We see the capability that he can do scoring wise. I think he can easily drop 20 to 25 points a game. It's just about giving him opportunities, giving him minutes, and also Ben. Again, like I know we're gonna have a discussion of Bilal Coulibaly, but 9 points tonight. I mean, where's the guy that wants that extension, the offensive capability that we saw when he against Brooklyn last season when they traded Kyle Kuzma? I understand last season was last season, and I understand he's coming back from injury, but if you're a guy that wants to be a key piece for his franchise, scoring 9 points a game and shooting just, if I'm looking at it right now, Ben, he only put up 6 shots. I need to see at least 10. That's the goal for me. Especially tonight when you're losing by 20 to 30 points. I mean, like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it was a tough night. Bilal's just had some inconsistencies, and that crossover step to the basket where he throws it down, he seems to do that almost every game at this point, at least
That
once.
first step, man.
I mean, that was the only field goal he had today. So, at times I really do see something in Bilal as an offensive player, but he just hasn't been able to put it together on a consistent basis. The injury has been, a part of the reason why, because he's missed plenty of time this year, already missing the 8 games. It's tough for me to assess really how I'm feeling about Bilal. I hold out hope for the guy because I really do think his best basketball has not been played yet, and he might reach a different level of his game at some point. I love his potential, especially on the defensive side of the basketball. But at the end of the day, it is a business, and, the inconsistency is something that we have to talk about for the most part. All right, let's take one more quick break, and then it's your guys' turn to let it all out. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. You and I make decisions every day, but on PrizePicks, being right can get you paid. Don't miss any of the excitement of this sports season, whether you're following the NFL, NBA, or both. There's no better time to jump in on the action. If you haven't tried it yet, PrizePicks is the simplest way to do it. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, and if you get them right, you win. It takes less than 60 seconds to make your lineup, and you can play anywhere PrizePicks operates, including California, Texas, and Georgia. I've been using PrizePicks during both football Sundays and NBA tips-off. It keeps every game exciting. I like picking out my favorite players like Mahomes, Curry, to see how my predictions play out. The new Stacks feature is a game changer. You can now pick more on Steph's points, threes, and assists in the same lineup. Plus, if one of your players leaves early with an injury, the injury reboot saves my lineup from a loss. Download the PrizePicks app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA to get $50 off in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, it's good to be right. 13 big L's in a row. You know what time it is. Let it all out. AB, kick it off.
At this point, it's just a tradition. I'm pretty sure even after a win, there's going to be a lot of people letting it all out. Also wanted to mention, Ben, Cam Whitmore, 11 points tonight, 17 minutes. Like Trey Johnson, that's not enough, man. Respectfully, it's just not enough. And I understand Cam Whitmore isn't as young as Trey, and like when it comes to him being the 6th overall pick and Washington trading 2 second-round picks to acquire Cam, but if you want him to have a key spot on this rotation, 17 minutes is just not enough. So let's look at these comments. We have a good amount of them. Locked On Law. Shout out to Locked On Law, one of our good friends of the channel. Can't win games with shooting that atrocious. Yeah, like Ben and I mentioned, you had good looks in the first half, and Chris Miller and Drew Gooden were talking about it, but they just weren't falling. There's going to be nights like that. But also, nights like that, you got to play good defense. And giving up, 88 points in the second half, it's just unexcusable. 3-point defense and rebounding abysmal as per usual. And that was expected because, again, you don't have your big guys out there in Sar and Bagley. Jack Phillips, 869. Thank you. Yeah, man, I don't know if I can do this anymore. Haven't missed a game since 2010. Shout out to you. And this might be it for me. At least until the trade deadline. Just ruins your night seeing games like this, man. Yeah, Jack, trust me, we completely understand the frustration. We have to recap the games too. And since 2010, that's awesome. I became a fan in 2014. So,
dude,
shout
I
out
mean,
to you, Jack.
Yeah, Jack, you can't quit now though. Like if you've been around the block for this long, I don't know if you could just stop at this point. But yeah, it's frustrating. Like it sucks that we're in a position where we got fans that are, ready to, take a break from watching a little bit. I've got some people that have responded to me on Twitter and said, I'm not going to watch anymore. I'm sorry. Like, I've had people message me saying, hey, like, I'm sorry, I'm a big supporter of the channel, but I'm probably not going to be watching as much right now just because of the state of the team. And, like, at the end of the day, like, we're not going anywhere. You and I, AB, we're not going anywhere.
Oh, we're going to be here all 82 games, baby.
We'll be here all 82 games, but I don't think the same can be said for everybody because the product on the floor has been bad recently.
I will say, Jack, I don't think this is rock bottom. And call me crazy. I think rock bottom was, and I'll keep mentioning it, you gave Bradley Beal that much money and you were barely making the play-in, and you didn't have any sense of direction when it comes to your future. You have young guys on the squad. The 2026 draft class, it's looking good. Just got to acquire that top 3 pick. Just got to be patient. You just got to be patient. WizKid forever. Riley is due a shot at point guard. Yep. Ben and I were big fans of Will Riley. We want him to see what he can do. And I think at the end of the day, a guy like Will Riley, why not? You don't have any guy out there that can play the pure point guard position, so you might as well do tryouts during the season. Is the Pistons' losing streak record in danger this season? The Eric Shen. I don't know, Ben. Is there a possibility? I think we're breaking that 16-game losing streak history or streak that we broke.
I don't know how long Bagley and Sarr are expected to be out. Maybe it's because they're on a back-to-back. They held those guys out tonight because they're both listed as questionable. They're not on like day-to-day injury or anything like that or week-to-week. So I guess that's the positive news. But if those guys were both out for an extended period of time, I would say this team could easily push to lose 25 to 30 games in a row. The way they're playing right now, as it currently stands, they will not win a basketball game playing the way they did tonight and the way they've really played over the course of this streak outside of the Detroit game, I guess, which they should have won, should have had that game, didn't get it. And losing games is obviously part of the goal and part of the mission for this team, but losing 25, like you're borderline getting to like embarrassment territory. It's a little bit ridiculous.
Yeah,
I'm eating crow, dude.
No.
I'm eating crow because I said all summer, like we're gonna keep our first round pick, but we're not losing 15 games in a row. There's no way that happens this year. Year 3.
Dude, I said 23 to 25 wins. I wish I had a time machine, dog.
I said there's no way they lose 15 games. I was wrong. I was very wrong. This team, it looks very easily could lose. And who knows? They might do it again. They might lose a 15-game-in-a-row streak at another point in the season as well. You don't know. It's very hard to tell, and I thought they'd be more competitive at this point.
John Piner 2151 says they got to stop holding back Trey and Cam. Those two guys are the scorers. I completely agree. They should be getting at least 20 minutes a game. Cam Whitmore had a nice putback dunk. I mean, shout out to our boy Noah Mustry. He has a really good dunk highlight reel so far this season, and we're not even halfway there yet. He's so freaking explosive. Trey _Boog 202. Thank you for liking, commenting, subscribing to Locked On Wizards. We lost by 30 and scored 110. Yeah, that's just how it is. Some teams out there in the NBA can score 110 and still win games, but when you give up 140, it's just unexcusable. The son of gods. I think we need Mikael Brown Jr. What's your thoughts on him, Ben?
So this has become a really sexy pick amongst Wizards fans because of the glaring need for point guard. This guy out of Louisville, he's a dog. He is one of the best pure points, probably the best pure point in this upcoming draft class. And Peterson's a guy that's obviously going to go before Brown Jr., most likely. I mean, depending on the order, but maybe if the Wizards were picking one and they absolutely needed a point guard, which they do right now, then that could be your guy in this situation. I know it's going to become to a point, depending on how Peterson plays throughout the year, where maybe you can't pass on a guy like that if he scores the ball that well, if he can break down the defense. But let's say you do finish with the worst record in the NBA. That means you're guaranteed to pick in the top 5. Let's say we get screwed in the lottery again and drop to the worst possible pick we have. At 5, that very well could be your guy. And he's probably going to be a really good talent in the NBA next year. I think his game really sticks out as something that's going to translate at the next level at the point guard position.
Yeah, I got to do my research on him. I'm still high on Boozer and DeBonza. I got to ask, Ben, I know everyone's talking about him on social media, but Brian Keefe, job security. If you break, what game do you say, okay, there's a possibility he might get fired before the trade deadline?
I just don't think it's going to happen.
Even if we break the losing streak,
if they lost if they lost 35 games in a row,
yeah,
I think if they lost 35, you probably have to. I really don't.
The streak's 28, right? The record's 28. I'm pretty sure it's held by Detroit.
Yeah, it's 28. Look, dude, after Maryland telling me that Mike Locksley is coming back as the head coach next, I don't know. I'm throwing a stray at Maryland football right now during this Wizards broadcast. But if he can go through 2 seasons only winning 2 conference games and they're going to bring him back next year, I don't know. Maybe anybody can keep a job at this point. And I'm not saying that situation relates to this at all. I'm just like bitter right now about that. So maybe I'm just using that logic in a nonsensical reason.
Yeah. John also says we need 2 top 5 picks at this point. You know what's crazy, guys? Guess what team out there in the NBA holds the LA Clippers unprotected first round pick?
It's definitely a team that's not any good, right?
No, it's the team that just won the NBA championship and now have the best record in the NBA. In the
Oklahoma
really? City Thunder.
Oh, the Thunder gonna have another top 5 pick? No way.
It's just not fair. I think Adam Silver, he should bid that pick to all the bottom 3 teams in the NBA or bottom 5 teams in the NBA, because that's just not fair. If I see AJ DeBonza or any of the top guys go to Oklahoma City, I just think the NBA should just stop. It's not going to be fun. Trey _ 202. I don't think Keith gets fired, but because he's doing what Ted wants him to do. I get that you want to keep that pick, but guys, it's not just about losing; it's how you're losing. I mean, again, we're probably going to go down in history when it comes to point differential. I think right now we're losing 18 points, 19 points a game. It's just frustrating. You gave up 48 points in the third quarter. Some teams can't even score 48 points in a half.
Well, hold on. Hear me out, though, AB. And I see the comments, 40-year plan, 10-year plan. I don't know if I believe that, because it seemed like a modern miracle that the Wizards were actually going to go through with this full rebuild. They were going to tear things down, bring in a front office that was willing to start from the ground up and try to build this thing and really sacrifice at least 3 years of being one of the worst teams in the league. That's something that's unheard of in this era of basketball where Ted Leonsis has been the owner. And now with, the Capitals have obviously been great for 20 years of Ovechkin. If this is actually Ovechkin's last year, you're going to lose butts in the seats for the Capitals next year, regardless of how good they are, because Ovechkin won't be playing anymore. If that's the case, I could see Ted putting more pressure on the front office to try to pick up the pace a little bit next year. I don't think there's going to be an excuse for him to lose a whole bunch of games next year. They're going to say you have to show improvement here because it's been 3 years of bottoming out. It's time to ramp it up a notch, because I think, Ted, he's a businessman. He wants to see his business succeed, and fans will grow restless. They've already grown restless in this situation. There's going to be an expectation for them to improve drastically and be better next year. Is that going to be the case? I don't know if they're going to have the pieces to do it. I really hope they do and we can see it, but that's kind of just something that's been in the back of my mind. I don't know if they're going to tolerate another really, really bad year.
Yeah. Also, I want to say one thing. This is irrelevant to Wizards basketball, but there were a lot of fans out there. I remember when I first started the channel, it was just me and the boy Leif Tulane saying that Derek Queen was not worth being a first-round pick, Ben. And I know you're a UMD guy. He just dropped 30 points on Nikola Jokic. Where are the haters at now, saying that he's not athletic enough? I'm just saying. All
right, I beat the table for the guy. I really beat the table for the. I don't care that I was definitely biased, but he's good. He's good as hell. This dude kicks ass.
And honestly, he has to be good, Ben, because Pelicans fans realize that they don't have a first-round pick next year.
You got to be good. He's got to be good for him. The Pelicans, it still might bite him in the ass. But, man, it's tough.
It really is.
It's not fun.
Last question, Ben. Go ahead. Mr. Bond V2 says, is LaMelo the answer?
Hell no. No. He's not. We already have injury problems enough on this team with our young core. We don't need another guy who's always injured and does not contribute to winning battles. He's a good player. He is, but he's not the answer for this team. And why would he want to go here?
Yeah, it just makes sense.
Yeah, it's tough. All right, well, we've gone over the allotted time per usual, but it was one of those moments. We had to let it all out, as we always do. And, AB, for you and I, it's not exactly fun to come on here after a 13 straight loss, but we're going to continue to try to make this thing as entertaining as possible.
And one more thing.
We're not going anywhere.
It's not just our Wizards, guys. It's also our Commanders. I mean, it's really tough right now, but when the brighter days are ahead, you're going to look back and say, man, it was all worth it. I'm hoping.
I hope so. I seriously hope we find the light at the end of the tunnel at some point. It's been a minute. It's been a minute, AB. We're going to rock with you guys, though, for 82 games of the season. Regardless, we could lose 60 in a row. We'll still be with you every step of the way here on Locked On Wizards. We thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen every single day. For your second, check out the Locked On NBA Fantasy Basketball Podcast. Josh Lloyd gets your lineup right each and every day. For my co-host, Abdullah Ayubi, I'm Ben Strober, DC family. Stick with it.